Welcome back to our channel. We are BitcoinMagazine.nl and we're live from the Midnight Summit 2025. We're in the heart of London. Doesn't happen very often, but we get to be in this old naval college. And we set up cameras, we set up lights, and we got to sit down with the most interesting people. The KOLs, the CEOs, the CFOs, the founders, people working on different types of projects within the ecosystem that is Midnight. And when you put those two words together, a Midnight Summit, you're like, why would Midnight be the summit? We sat down with Fami, and Fami said this is the beginning. Whenever you start a race, it starts with a bang. And this was our bang. And the bang leads to more creation. And we're going to expand. And as we expand, we need to move towards different types of projects that might not necessarily fit into what we're doing. And for me to talk about that, I'm going to sit down with, let me call her an expert, an advisor, a newsletter writer, a person that actually knows what it is they're talking about when it comes to stablecoins. And on a daily basis, I'm pretty sure she says the word stablecoins approximately 500,000 times every day because we sat down for 2 minutes and she said it about 30 times. So I'm going to just go and tell you right now, she loves the topic. It's her baby. So Marieke is going to tell us why she's here. Why would she be at a Midnight Summit? Because inherently, CBDCs and when it comes to stablecoins and the whole ecosystem, you're not really talking about a very stringent privacy model. But maybe there should be. Watch this video. Share this video. Like this video. Comment in this video. And help us keep creating this type of content that promotes mass adoption amongst all of us here in the crypto community. So Marieke, without any further ado, stablecoins is at the heart of everything you talk about and do. Yet you're at the Midnight Summit. Very simply put, why?
Well, so Emmanuel, thank you for this great question and great to be here. The way I see things is that stablecoins are actually have a very important momentum and are in a way rewiring finance as we know it. Or are they? Because actually, they might just be creating more of what we have actually at the moment. But it's a very large volume. It's growing months on months. 99% of stablecoins are in dollar denominated, no other currencies. And yet the other very important topic, in particular, given the moments we are living, is privacy. Like, can we create all this technology? Can we create things on blockchain with traceability, with also maybe less anonymity? Can we create that having like the right privacy settings? And I think the convergence of those two topics is very interesting. For Eurostable Watch, the newsletter that I co-author, I do a lot of research, and I was actually very fascinated and wanted to come here to understand better Midnight and what the ecosystem is doing when it comes to privacy, but also like this confluence and convergence with stablecoins.
Now, my first question will be, simply put, what is the value of stablecoins? Is there a reason why we need stablecoins?
Great question. So we in our geographies, we might not feel we need it because we're in good currencies still so far, right? Like
I mean, if I'm living in Africa, broken money, sure.
exactly.
But
You
I
find
live
it-
in the Netherlands.
Yeah, okay. So, and that's the thing I hear very often is that when, people tell me we don't need stable coins in Europe because actually we have good internal systems. That's fine. But actually, look at it that way. With the Genius Act now, US dollar denominated stablecoin can become even more prevalent. Actually, I believe that the Genius Act and the fact that stablecoins are in dollar make it even a better tool for the US dollar to be even more dominant. In countries, for example, if you look at, Latin America, if you're in Venezuela and you see your currency tank all the time, you might want to put some of your savings that you made today in dollar, right? If you are in Nigeria, you might want to do that. There's over 12% of the population in Nigeria that today puts their savings in actually stablecoin. So the use cases are different in different geography. But for us in Europe, it's not a matter of would it make our life better. It's a matter of sovereignty. Because imagine a world where maybe tomorrow, instead of holding, euros, you could hold US dollar because you're getting 4% yield on them, 5% yield on them. It's already happening. And so why wouldn't you do that? And therefore, what it means is that, well, are we going to need euro? So it's almost like, it's a system that's entering our geographies. And therefore, that's why we should think about stablecoin for other currencies than the dollar in the geographical context we're in.
From the other side, let's break it down. For those of you who do not understand the difference, I'm going to have an expert explain it to us today. So when they say CBDC, they say stable coins, a digital euro. What is the actual overlap but difference between them?
Great question. Okay, so, and there's another category we could talk about tokenized deposits.
Oh,
The way I think about it, is we have fiat money, and there is different ways to tokenize that fiat money. So there is indeed CBDC, tokenized deposits, or stable coins. Now, if you're the central bank, your role within the financial system is to actually issue the number of euro that should be. So for a central bank, doing a central bank digital currency is what should be the right model. If you're a bank, actually you hold deposits, and so you could tokenize those deposits that are also in euro. And if you're a financial private institution like a fintech, you could actually do stablecoins. So in my view, the way I think about it is just whether we talk CBDC, tokenized deposit, or stablecoin, those are just a way to tokenize fiat money, and they might serve different purpose for different entities. And what I believe in is actually that we can have a stack of money where it's not either or, because very often we talk it's either stable coins or CBDC, or it's not. In my view, it's actually a composable stack that is interoperable, and it just depends who are the actors and what's the use case that they have. So the users are, for example, for CBDC, I believe, for example, that wholesale CBDC in particular in the context of Europe could be interesting. The users would be central banks and banks. It's not us, it shouldn't be for us.
No.
And that's why when the European Central Bank talks about a digital euro, which is a retail CBDC, I'm not sure I see the use of that. But for CBDC, it could be banks and actually central bank. For tokenized deposit, it's very often banks and very large companies that might make sense to have that. And then for stablecoin, then it's end users, right? It's like it's the end users like you and I who might either be in Europe or who might be outside of Europe and who might want to have access to euro because it's also a good reserve currency. So that's why I think it's a stack and it's different users, and therefore it's composable depending on the use case.
Now, from two sides. First, ABN AMRO, ING, all of these traditional finance institutions are pushing for a digital dollar, digital euro right here in Europe. From the other side, you have Spain pulling out. We do not want this to happen. Two sides. Which one has a bigger impact on what you believe in?
Yeah, look, I believe that actually because of our constructs in Europe, I think actually coming together and creating a consortium of banks that can create a very strong euro stablecoin as a matter of sovereignty in a world where stablecoins will probably be the rails for the future, I think that's very important. I think when you look at actually the agenda for do we need a digital euro or not, I don't think that's a good idea, because also from a matter of clarity, having, a unified vision of where we're going and not competing with ourselves would be helpful. What I mean by that is that if you look at the US with the Genius Act, it's all in stablecoin. It's very clear. Like just go all in on that. And tokenized deposits, fine. But that's the very clear discourse. In Europe, we mix things up because we talk CBDC, digital euro. Nobody's talking about tokenized deposit. We talk a bit about stablecoins, or few people are. But then I think it's mixing the message of the importance that stablecoins have more from a sovereignty and use cases for the future. So my ideal view would be, I think, coming together to have a strong proponent that actually can defend itself would be a good model.
And where does midnight fit in?
Well, midnight fit in because when we talk about actually, can we do all that with privacy settings? Can we exactly,
Yeah.
can we be in a world where we can, on one hand, enable traceability, transparency, but also privacy in the systems that we know? Is that technically possible? I've been following a lot zero knowledge, technology and where that's going. It's really hard to make happen, right? So I think that's where midnight fit in.
Why? Why is it hard to make happen?
Because the technology is not yet fully mature. Because actually it is, intellectually, the concept of zero knowledge might be something that is easy to grasp in a way, easy-ish. Well, at least we can grasp it, but then making that happen in a way that can be fast enough and usable enough, that's where it becomes very complex, right? So I think we need this breakthrough in technology. We need to show that we can actually have use cases that can have the best of every world, respect privacy, but also enable innovation and usability.
At the core of what Wita is trying to accomplish is privacy, security, compliance, and transparency at a manageable level. So they want to be able to give you a complete management over transparency over what it is you want to keep private. But when you talk about stablecoins, how do you overlap these two thought processes? How do you overlap these ideas and make them one? Do you already see a way to make it one? Or do you say, like you just said, maturity is not there yet? How much, and if it's not there yet, how far away removed are we?
Well, I think, and I was just on a panel actually with Saj, the CLO from Midnight, and we talked about that. I think maturity is not there in several aspects. One, the even awareness and understanding of what it means and why it's important. I think it's starting to be there either with users or with regulators, but not fully. And what we also discussed is that very often for certain end users that might be large corporations, the real deep understanding of what privacy means might not be fully there. So that's on one end. Do we have the real awareness of why we need it? And what we discussed was, well, 2026 might be the year where we realize why privacy is so important, but we realize it because something very bad, very big happened. So like a chat GPT knowing everything about something or being able to train. But that might be our reckoning, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's on one hand, are we ready? And then on the other hand, I think from a technology perspective, we need to be able to embed the solutions in our existing wallets, in our existing platforms, in our existing maybe also banking system, like to show that it's really possible. And at the moment, we're just at the beginning of that, right? So I think that's where the maturity can really scale, yet to be seen.
So where does your passion for stablecoin come from?
Where does it come from? It comes from the realization that I think we're living a Bretton Woods moment. I think when I looked at, so I started my career in crypto at Circle. And, back then, I didn't fully understand why when we launched USDC, I have to admit that I didn't necessarily fully grasp what was going to happen. And actually, when you look at the user adoption in the countries we were talking about, which is not, again, from my perspective, like, why do we need that? But actually, when you see the use cases that it is enabling, I think it's very powerful. And now the way I look at it is that it is also an instrument for rejigging the geopolitical order as we have it. And so my passion lies in the fact that I think we're living a Bretton Woods moment. This time it's not, in a big meeting room with people coming and convening. This time is all of us behind our keyboards that are each of us making decisions and trying to influence a very big system in different ways. And I think it's a fascinating moment to be alive. And so I just want to understand it better.
And as 2026 keeps moving forward, we are getting ready for different bullish momentos. Jerome Powell is leaving. We're expecting changes in the US system when it comes to the way they handle money, the way they handle the actual rent, and basically the way they handle how we respond to the market. From the other side, there's big changes in Europe. There's big changes in the government of Europe. Everybody's moving in a different direction. Everybody wants to change the way we see digital money. But stable coins, as the name implies, is stable, tied to the dollar. Do you see a point coming where you no longer would believe in the power of stablecoins?
Well, I think so. I think the moment we're living, we might also be going through a debasement. And what I mean by that is that on one hand, you have a course which is stablecoins are in dollar denominated. They're a great instrument to continue and even like accelerate the model we're in right now. But equally, if you look at things, governments are hoarding more gold than they've ever been holding before, right? And we haven't talked about Asia, which is also another movement trying to figure like, what do you do with these new rails that are blockchain based, whether you call them stablecoins or tokenized deposits, but like you can basically rebalance the system. And do you actually remove yourself more from the dollar and start actually putting Bitcoin on your balance sheet or putting gold on your balance sheet or tokenized gold and so on and so forth? So it's all of that that's at play. And I think it's interesting what you say because yes, indeed, stable coins are stable, but they just are the representation of a fiat currency. And more than that, what is happening is that, is that system still the system we're going to go into? Or is it actually a system that is starting to rebase itself on something else? Which, the other trend that I'm looking at a lot is gold versus Bitcoins and which governments are actually backing on what and putting what in their treasury. But all of that to me is part of this new Bretton Woods moment that we're living.
Okay. And as a key takeaway, you being obviously a supporter and a voice for stablecoins. Do you believe that you need to bring forward a message? What would that message be? What
Yeah.
are you trying to say about stablecoins?
Okay, amazing question. What I'm trying to say is that today, 99% of stablecoins are in dollar. I think for any country anywhere in the world, if you let that happen, it means you're going to give up on your sovereignty. And I think we have a duty to think through what it means for the future. I think if you look and if you think from a European perspective, very often Europe has a tendency to think that we can just add regulation and we can stop things. And in this unique case, stablecoins are unstoppable. And so we cannot think that way. The model and the finance as we live it are being rejigged. It's a unique moment to actually participate and shape it. And so we should want to shape it positively and be actually thinking about it rather than just want to stop a movement that's happening.
And if I had to switch you from stablecoins to creating a narrative where midnight becomes a necessity, what would you say?
I would say in that new world that is being created, privacy is going to matter so much. We have no idea how much privacy is actually going to be core and important for the future we live in. And that's where Mainnet comes into play.
And you believe midnight will be able to fulfill that need?
I hope they will, and I will be watching.
And you will be watching. It's a very political answer. I hope they will. I will be watching, keeping an eye on it.
Deliver.
And you heard her, right? Deliver. So Fami, Charles, Marieke, we are very clear. Deliver. Make it happen. You know something? Some of these conversations, I call them master classes. This was a master class. If you didn't know what the difference was between CBDC and stablecoin and the digital euro, now you know. If you didn't know why stablecoins matter, now you know. If you didn't know why you should be passionate about stablecoins, how it helps different countries around the world, now you know. So, there's always an article attached to these videos. In that article, all the links will be added, so you'll be able to follow her. You'll be able to read about her. You'll be able to see exactly where she got that information from and what makes her so passionate and why she believes in stablecoins as much as she do. This was one of the most passionate conversations we had today. This is the last conversation for today. As you've realized, my voice is going. So forgive me for that. So I hope you still understand what I'm saying. So thank you for this.
Thank you so much.
I know you were on many panels. I know you were in many different discussions today. So you took the time to sit down with us, for our audience to be able to understand where you're coming from. I'm definitely going to subscribe to your newsletter.
Thank you so much.
Very, very well. This is BitcoinMagazine.nl right here, Old Naval College, heart of London, for the Midnight Summit 2025. Share this video, like this video, comment, and we'll see you all soon.